I'm John Hinderaker, filling in for Laura today. And we're going to switch gears now and talk about immigration. And we're delighted to be joined now by Stephen Dinan, the political editor for the Washington Times. Stephen, thanks for being with us.
It's good to be here, John.
Stephen, I want to ask you about an article that you had in the Times yesterday about Jeff Sessions, of course, a Republican and a real hero as far as I'm concerned, and Dick Durbin, one of the most partisan Democrats, teaming up on an issue. That's kind of odd, strange bedfellows. Tell us about this, Stephen. What is it that Sessions and Durbin are going after?
Well, you talk about odd bedfellows, and they recognize this in their statement. They sort of said, "Hey, look, we come at this issue from different sides." Durbin was one of the Gang of Eight who wrote the 2013 immigration bill in the Senate and pushed for it and got it passed through the Senate. He's been one of the Dreamers' top champions, possibly their top champion in the Senate over the last decade. And then you have Jeff Sessions, the Alabama Republican, who quite literally made his name in the last decade or so by opposing Durbin specifically and the immigration efforts that Durbin's leading. And so these two guys who could not agree on just about anything else on the immigration issue found one area to agree on, and that is that they both think that the guest worker program that we have right now, in particular the high-skilled guest worker program known as the H-1B program, they both believe that there is a potential for and actually occurring some abuse in that program. And so they've asked for the Justice Department, the Labor Department, and the Homeland Security Department all to investigate that program and figure out if companies are abusing it. In particular, the abuse that they believe, and this has been reported by a couple of outlets in the last couple weeks, and in fact, Congress heard testimony from some of the folks from a California company, technology company. The employees said that they have been laid off. The company is actually using this visa to hire foreign workers under this visa, and the employees, the American employees, are actually having to train these foreign visa holders to take over their jobs. And so it's sort of an insult to injury situation. So Durbin and Sessions looked at that and said, hey, our immigration system shouldn't be used to displace American workers. If that's going on, we need to find out, first of all, if it's going on, and second of all, what we as Congress can do about it. If the law already prevents it, then let's go ahead and enforce that law. If the law doesn't, then let's quickly go ahead and write something to get at that.
Now, Stephen, let's just pause here for a moment and talk for a moment about the big picture. We hear a lot about illegal immigration, and we also hear a lot about low-skill workers who are flooding into the country and driving down wages of relatively unskilled American workers, especially African Americans. But for the most part in recent years, most people have had a positive attitude toward high-skill immigration, the H-1B visas that you're talking about. But in recent weeks and months, that aspect of our immigration program has been coming under attack, too, as data has been coming out that many American college graduates with STEM degrees, degrees in science, engineering, and so forth, are unable to find jobs. And meanwhile, these high-tech companies in particular are importing thousands and thousands and thousands of foreign workers to take those jobs. And,
that's exactly where you just described exactly the information that's been developed more recently. There's some interesting research coming out, including some stats out there that are now floating around that there are twice as many graduates with these high-tech sort of degrees as there are jobs in those specific high-tech fields. Now, the technology companies counter that, well, yes, that's true, except that counting just the jobs in the technology field doesn't actually capture this whole universe. They say that there are people who take, for example, I work at a newspaper. They say, well, you guys aren't a technology company, but you certainly have tech employees who work there, and they're not necessarily counted in that. So it's a big debate over whether there actually are openings, essentially what the job market is for technology workers right now. The associations that advocate for the workers say, look, our folks, some of them are struggling to find jobs. It's not a tight job market. There are not a lot of openings out there for our folks, and so to go overseas and recruit new workers from overseas, which is essentially what the H-1B program does.